Germany is facing a third straight year of economic crisis.
In the migrant-dominated neighborhoods, people on the streets are calling the shots tonight.
Since 2019, the German GDP has only been stagnating.
Rioters erect barricades. Drivers are threatened with weapons.
And this is the problem.
More and more people are deciding to return from emigration, with Germany among the main destinations. The average net salary in Germany is around 3,055 euros per month, so earnings there are not bad. However, life in Germany used to be much better. Today, if you read posts by Germans on Facebook or YouTube, it's easy to see the frustration of people living there. Many of them say their country has become unlivable. The Federal Institute for Population Research and the University of Duisburg, Essen conducted a special study on this, which we'll expand on for you. But the initial takeaways are straightforward. About 180,000 German citizens emigrate each year, while another 130,000 return. Around 76% of those who leave have higher education, whereas many who migrate to Germany often have only primary or secondary education. So what exactly is happening in Germany? What are residents saying? And why is life there getting tougher? All that in today's piece. Let's begin. Currently, 5% of Germans live abroad, placing Germany third among OECD countries for emigration after Poland and the United Kingdom. The Federal Institute for Population Research and the University of Duisburg, Essen interviewed 10,000 people of German origin to understand why they emigrated and how Germany affected their decisions. More than 60% of respondents said their household net income abroad was better or much better than a year ago. Switzerland is the most popular destination. 1 in 5 expatriates chooses it, followed by Austria, the United States, and the United Kingdom. Career is the primary reason Germans move abroad, closely followed by the desire for a different lifestyle. Some Germans also point to fatigue with current politics and the situation in the country. A government crisis and upheaval in German politics led to snap elections on February 23rd, in which Friedrich Merz became chancellor. From the outset, he announced he would solve the migration problem. The influx of new immigrants and the integration of those who have recently arrived has become, alongside the economic downturn, the most important issue in the election campaign and political debate. Already, 23% of Germany's residents were born outside the country.
Wir werden einen neuen Kurs in der Migrationspolitik einschlagen. Wir werden besser ordnen und steuern und die irreguläre Migration weitgehend beenden.
Since 2011, due to Angela Merkel's policies, Germany has seen a major increase in migrants, especially in 2012 to 2015. Net migration rose from 387,000 in 2012 to a record 1.15 million in 2015, directly linked to the refugee crisis and armed conflicts in the Middle East.
Wir haben so vieles geschafft, wir schaffen das. Wir schaffen das und wo uns etwas im Wege steht, muss es überwunden werden, muss daran gearbeitet werden und der Bund wird alles in seiner Macht Stehende tun, zusammen mit den Ländern, zusammen mit den Kommunen, genau das durchzusetzen.
After 2016, the pace of migration slowed markedly, but it rose again in 2021 to 2022. In 2022, the migration balance hit an all-time high, 1.54 million people. Culturally and socially, Germany has changed beyond recognition, as shown by maps and data on the number of mosques. In 1975, there were only 10. By 2025, there are set to be 2,750, most of them located in Western Europe. For many Germans, this is an issue that triggers strong emotions, especially when a terrorist attack occurs. Such attacks did happen. For example, in 2016, when Tunisian Anis Amri hijacked a truck and drove it into the crowd at the Breitscheidplatz, Breitscheidplatz, Christmas market in Berlin. 12 people were killed and more than 50 were injured. Or the one in Magdeburg on December 20th, 2024, when 50-year-old Taleb A originally from Saudi Arabia, drove a car into a crowd at a Christmas market, killing 5 people and injuring 200. The perpetrator had previous convictions for making threats and disturbing the peace.
The suspect's migrant background has angered the far right.
Unfortunately, the state is not able to sufficiently monitor all its citizens, let alone immigrants. Hence, attacks and other dangerous incidents have become something Germans have, sadly, grown used to. Nor do protests or events where a community publicly expresses support for its homeland, despite living in Germany, surprise anyone anymore. Germany is taking an increasingly hard line on migration. Many of the tightened rules were introduced in response to crimes committed by migrants and asylum seekers. In recent months, Germany has resumed deportations to countries such as Afghanistan, a reaction to a series of high-profile knife attacks that shocked the public.
We begin with something that hasn't happened here in years: deportation flights from Germany to Afghanistan. On Friday, Germany resumed deporting rejected asylum seekers to Afghanistan. For the first time since the Taliban retook power back in 2021, a flight with convicted Afghan offenders took off bound for Kabul. The renewed deportations come as the German government faces pressure to crack down on migration after a fatal knife rampage last week, allegedly carried out by a man who should have been deported.
As a result, the link between migration and crime has gained prominence and become a central axis of political and social debate. Rising crime statistics are often used by far-right groups to sharpen anti-immigration rhetoric. Data from the German Interior Ministry show that in 2023 authorities solved a total of 3,175,282 criminal cases. Preliminary proceedings were initiated against 2,017,552 suspects. Notably, people without German citizenship were connected to 34.4% of all crimes, a clear increase compared with the previous year. It is also worth noting that while illegal immigration does indeed raise the risk of crime, danger also comes from political extremism. Germany has seen a sharp rise in politically and racially motivated offences. In 2023, the Interior Ministry recorded a record 15,087 xenophobic crimes, up 50% from 2022. About 77% of these offences had a right-wing background, according to government reports. So no one denies that immigrants are not blameless. However, extreme moods are also spilling over into society, which wants to mete out punishment on its own. In this way, polarization in Germany is deepening, and social divides are most visible between the east and west of the country, as shown by the maps you've just seen in the background.
To się zawaliło jak domek z kart. Z powodu braku miejsc pracy bardzo wiele osób wyemigrowało ze wschodu na zachód. Te doświadczenia spowodowały, że osoby, które zostały na wschodzie, czuły się obywatelami drugiej kategorii.
Zwłaszcza młodzi ludzie zaczęli masowo wyjeżdżać przede wszystkim z małych miasteczek, ze wsi do większych miast, a także był ten ruch migracyjny ze wschodnich landów do landów zachodnich.
Germany is currently grappling with severe labour shortages. Around 700,000 positions remain unfilled. Estimates suggest that by 2035, this number will rise to 7 million, so Germany will not give up on immigration. It is also worth adding that Germany's home ownership rate is among the lowest in Europe. In 2024, it stood at 47.2%, down from 47.6% in 2023. For comparison, the EU average is around 70%. Supply is short. In 2023, only 245,000 new homes were built, far below the 400,000 a year target. In 2024, that number fell to 210,000, deepening the housing deficit. Not long ago, headlines shouted about falling housing prices in Germany. Just 2 years later, property is more expensive than it was before the crisis. Germans can't afford to buy, so they rent, and renting isn't easy either. In Berlin, there are waiting lists just to respond to a listing.
Okay, ich mach's kurz. Wohnen ist verdammt teuer geworden. Und die Wohnungssuche, die ist in deutschen Großstädten einfach nur ein richtiger Pain. Viele von euch haben bestimmt sowas schon mal erlebt.
Schlange stehen für die Traumwohnung, das ist bittere Realität für Zehntausende Wohnungssuchender momentan. Und die Situation auf dem Wohnungsmarkt wird immer dramatischer.
Und das liegt vor allem an den steigenden Mieten. Zum Beispiel in Berlin. Dort haben sich die Mietpreise in den letzten Jahren einfach verdoppelt. Aber das ist leider nicht nur in der Großstadt so. Auch in kleineren Städten wie Augsburg oder Pforzheim ist Wohnen verdammt teuer geworden. Und das ist natürlich ein Riesenproblem. Momentan ist ja eh schon alles teuer genug. Inflation, Energie, steigende Zinsen, ihr wisst Bescheid.
Renting a flat is not a privilege everyone can access, certainly not in a satisfying location. Add to this the growing problems in industry, the looming nearly 50% tariffs if introduced by Trump, and it turns out that year by year, Germany is not getting better, but worse, especially since the country's energy future, due to the conflict with Russia, also remains in doubt. Germany is no longer the country known to the generation of the 1970s and 1980s. Today it is a giant with feet of clay, burdened by social inequality and migration challenges. Berlin will probably find a way out of this crisis sooner or later, but for now, as Germans themselves emphasize, life is increasingly becoming unbearable. Alright dear viewers, that's all for today. If you have your own observations, as usual, feel free to share them in the comments. That's it from me for today. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Take care, bye.